Well, hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 4. I can't believe it. Already episode 4 of Chewing the Fat with Wendy and Jason. I'm Jason Eder, VP of Marketing. Joining me is the incredible and amazing Wendy Lieber. She is the co-founder and CEO of Content Bacon. And today we are going to talk about a subject that is extremely important to both Wendy and I. It is why the story needs to start at the top. And, before we dive into it, I think let me just pause right there and say, Wendy, what does that even mean to you as a co-founder, as a CEO, as a leader of this organization? When you hear that phrase, what does that mean to you?
Yeah. So to me, story is another word for vision, purpose of an organization. And I think that everything comes from that. And so to tell your story means you have to have a very clear understanding of your vision, your purpose, your why, so to speak. And if that's not clear, then it's going to be very challenging for you as the CEO or someone on the leadership team to communicate effectively. But it's going to be doubly, triply, quadruply challenging for some of the more tactical people on your team to tell the story. And the word content is a big kind of overarching word that maybe if you're on the leadership team, if you are the CEO, you might check out because content feels tactical. It feels like, well, I shouldn't be doing that. That's, I have a marketing team that does my content, that does my blogs, my social media. And that could be true. But in order for those things to be effective, in order for those things to be compelling, in order for those things to resonate with the target audiences you're trying to reach, it has to be linked to an overarching story, which again, I believe, and there should be no one more passionate on your team to tell that story than someone at the top, because they are often, as visionaries, usually they are often thinking much bigger than the rest of the organization. And that bigger story is usually, quite compelling, quite interesting, quite inspirational.
Absolutely. And I think from my experience, I've seen what happens on both sides of the picture, right? As a marketing person, right? I've been hired for organizations to do marketing where the story wasn't clear. And, maybe the perception was, oh, I'm going to hire Jason, so Jason will take care of that. That's difficult because what if I create a great plan for the wrong story, or what if the story that I create doesn't align with what you think it should be? That's where a lot of dialogue really needs to come into play. And to Wendy, your point, absolutely, it just must come from the top. And the most passionate advocate of the story must be the founder, or whoever is in the CEO position, president, whatever the role is that says like, this is where it stops. That's the person that needs to lead that force. And it cascades across everything. It's not just a marketing or, blogs or your website. It's everything. It's if you're trying to hire a sales force, their pitch deck, the first 4 pages of that pitch deck or that store video, whatever it is, any asset that you're pushing out into the world needs to start with that very clear, consistent story. And it just continues to cascade. It goes into your blogs, it goes into your emails, it goes into how people communicate verbally. It always ties back. And if that's unclear, you're very quickly going to find yourself in a situation where everyone has a different version of it. And that's where it gets really muddy.
And that's a really great exercise to even, to take on internally, because, we often think, and I have made this mistake where, I'm so clear on who Content Bacon is and why we exist. And I often assume, because I'm so clear and I think I'm always talking about it, that my team must be clear. And, I've learned that, you have to repeat things 10, 20, maybe unlimited times before it really starts to resonate. Because again, I'm in a unique position as the CEO of the company and as the visionary, where it is very clear to me up here. But that doesn't mean that everyone in the organization, not everyone thinks the same way. And some people, they have to see something in writing or see something visually to start to understand it. So I might be speaking about our story, our vision all the time verbally, and just think everyone's understanding it when might not be getting it. And I do think that's the beauty of again, using this overarching term of content or telling your story, is it's not an easy task to take a vision and turn it in to ongoing content, and use it different ways. It takes something, and that's part of the value of investing in content on a consistent basis, because you will find that your story you can either ferret out where it's not clear, or it starts to become more clear and stronger. I mean, that happens with me all the time. The more we're creating different ways to communicate it, it's become so much easier and it evolves. And I think that's the other thing, is this is not like a one and done. It's like, let me tell you my vision and now go off and communicate it to the world. It evolves. And we have started doing something internally, and we're starting to roll it out to our customers, called whether it's philosophies or point of view, to really take different topics and really go deeper into what is our point of view on this topic. What is our point of view on SEO? What is our point of view on how social media should be done? And go deeper into those areas, so that again, as an organization, we can really get aligned. But again, that all typically starts with me, and then I get feedback and input, and it evolves, it grows, it gets better. But I am always the one initially, coming up with what that is, that my team can then support and enhance what I'm, thinking, to use it in a way that works with our target audiences.
Absolutely. And I think that there are really good examples out there of when that's the case, right? There's some really big brands, for example, Nike. Like, there's no question that they uniformly understand what Nike is trying to do.
Yeah.
Nike does it so well that you forget that they're a sneaker company.
Sure.
Apple does it so well that you forget they're a computer company.
Yeah.
There's other organizations too, like when Drift first really came into the space, they were going up against Intercom. They were going up against like some really big heavy hitters in this weird space called chat on a website, which like no one wanted anything to do with, because it sounded so awful. I don't want people talking to me on a website. I thought the website was supposed to get me away from the people, right? And they revolutionized the whole picture. And I'll tell you what, though, David Cancel, who is their CEO, he was right in front of it. He was on podcasts talking about what they were doing. He was doing seminars talking about how they're changing the world. He was everywhere, and he was heavily involved. And that made such a substantial difference in taking that story to life, because
Absolutely.
Everyone was bought in. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there's that great TEDx talk by Simon Sinek, which if you haven't watched it, it's worth looking up. But he talks about how people buy your why, not your what. And he compares, Apple to, I forget if it's Dell or another computer company, where it is the difference between selling the why versus the what. And again, I just find it it's a much more fun world to play in when you are connected with your why, and it transcends, all areas of the organization. And that's really what we're talking about is, you're building a company, you're building a brand. Yes, we often think about these things in terms of new customers, new leads, new sales, and that is certainly a piece of it, but it's also how that resonates with your team, and hiring and building a culture that can support all those new customers, and strategic partners. And so, you know, getting that in place and then constantly revisiting it, evolving it is it's it's the key to growth. Without it, you just will not be able to connect with your target audience, or you'll be lumped into being a commodity product or service where you're just
Mm.
competing on price, and that's not necessarily a fun world to play in either. And again, just using the Apple example, we all know, the price differential between Apple products and some of the other, competitors out there is quite huge, yet people have no problem paying it. And that's because, we're now, talking about, the brand, the story, the why, not the what.
Yeah, and I want to challenge anyone watching this and thinking, well, what I do doesn't really need a story. I'm in XYZ organization, and it's okay that we're a little boring. We do what we do, and that's just not true. I don't care what you do. A perfect example and I'll put it in the chat here, is uh, there's a landscaper called Guy with a Mullet Landscaping, and he has grown from being literally a guy with a mullet that does landscaping into a brand
Okay.
called Guy with a Mullet Landscape. And it is wonderful. He's raised like tens of thousands of dollars for charities because he's embracing what he does and who he is. And it's become something really special. So if a guy that's literally just mowing lawns for a living can reshape that, into something it's actually like he's like a nation phenomenon now for what he's doing, because it's just so fun. He gets asked to come to trade shows and stuff and speak. Again, he really just said, you know what, I think I want to start a lawn mowing business. And look at where he's taken himself. It's really quite amazing. And so I just challenge anyone that thinks that whatever it is that their service is doesn't warrant a story. I would say that's just simply not true.
Well, I think this kind of links back to, our why at Content Bacon. And, one of my beliefs is every company has a powerful story to tell, and they're either just not doing it or they're not doing it well. And I think,
Mm.
just to take your challenge, a step further, if any of you are struggling with that, or, don't feel that either you have a powerful story to tell or maybe you're not telling it, that's where we can really support and draw that out of you. That's one of our, areas of expertise, and why we exist is for that exact reason. That so many companies, and maybe they started out with the powerful why and a vision, and then as you're growing the company, and all the things that occur on that growth path, you somehow got detached from that, and you've almost forgotten
Mm.
your why. It's a really powerful exercise to kind of get back in touch with that, and to see what gets created as a result. And it's also, I think, just extremely important to use as a way to differentiate yourself, from your competition, because, there's I'll just say, I believe there's plenty of business, there's plenty of abundance for all of us, because we all are different, and all of our companies, even if we're in the same space, approach things differently, and as a result can resonate with a particular group of target customers uniquely. And so, while competition can sometimes feel like it gets in the way of, you getting your fair share, it can also be just a great way to get really clear on how you're unique and different, so that you can grow in the lane that you want to grow in.
Absolutely. And I think that the icing on the cake for what you just said is you are unique, you are different. Understand your space and then tell that story to your audience, because it will resonate. It will. And
Absolutely.
uh it will. So that's it. That is today's episode of Chewing the Fat, episode 4, Why the Story Needs to Start from the Top. Wendy, thank you so much as always for your incredible insight.
My pleasure.
Again, and we will see you next time.
See you next time.